Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tockar's Master Class. Today, we're going to be talking with the one, the only Lee Tockar, and some of his experience over the years in the various crafts that he seems to pursue. So, what are some of the crafts that you have pursued over the years?
Other than voiceover,
Yes.
um, anything that has to do with a form of expression.
Mm.
So I'm a painter. I carve stone. I I doodle. I'm a master scribbler. I'm a writer. I just finished my first novel and my first full movie, and both of the same name, The Grim Possession of Chesterfield Couch.
Yes.
Yes.
Chesterfield.
Yeah.
That one's a fun name to
Um,
say.
yeah, Chesterfield Couch, which is a redundancy, which I love.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, so it's a very dark humor thing, and so I've been doing that, and I pursue cooking. I like cooking. I'm a foodie.
Good old foodie.
Yeah. I just finished the last of my chicken barley, um, garlic, onion uh, deliciousness soup. It was absolutely wonderful with fresh roasted chicken bits in it and chopped celery and chopped water chestnuts fine to give
Mm.
it a little crunch.
Yes, lovely little crunches.
Yes. So that's what I do when I'm not doing voiceovers. But voiceovers is what I do for a living. But I
So,
have many hobbies.
yeah, so could you give us kind of a master class in how to approach voice acting and potentially getting into the field?
Well, sure. I mean, it's a very wide broad question, and so I was kind of hoping this to be mostly a Q&A so that I can answer specific questions that people have so that they're getting more bang for their proverbial buck, as it were. But
Yes.
in general, I would say learn your own voice, study the accents that you want, study the voices that you've come up with that are initially individual to yourself, that are original, and then take note of them. Like, for example, on anybody's iPhone, I'm an iPhone person. So there's audio messages, see? And
Mm-hmm.
so I just say, "Oh, this is Lee Tockar here, and I am at LooneyCon right now, and I just want to say hi to everybody. So, hi, everybody." And then, "Oh, this is Lee Tockar here, and I am and I have scads of these things. And I'm trying to create an app, but I don't know any app developers for a really cool way to categorize and catalog your own voices.
Mm.
So that's it's called Voice Vault. And but anyway, my people and I are working on that,
Oh,
and I have an army of nerds. An army of nerds, and I am a total
yes.
nerd. I wear the one ring that binds them around my neck because I'm an LOTR fan,
Yeah.
uh, an Uber fan, and yeah, um, yes. So anyway, so once you know your own voices, pick the ones that are the best for you to sell on a demo reel. And so by that I mean it has to show your range of characters. So you want something that's old, something that's young, any accents that you do that are good. And of course, this is BIPOC era, so you cannot do any black anymore. You cannot. I have done this online. I have done like Idi Amin sort of thing, from Central Africa, Hmm. So, but I cannot do that anymore. And even in My Little Pony, I played coriander cumin, which was the for Southeast Asian, and there were three people there, okay, and they were from Southeast Asia, and they're like, "What are you doing here, Whitey?" And I'm like, "I'm here to take food out of your fridge and put it into my fridge." So, and then the next time there was a callback, there was only one guy there, and he's like, "You, what the heck, man?" And I said, "I told you." And I got the job, but I don't think that I'll ever be able to do that stuff anymore, because right after that was when the Black Lives Matter and BIPOC and things like that, and I totally respect that. But I always taught my students, it's not a matter of, you never make fun of another culture. You can have fun with a voice, and voice actors, I was trained to learn all the accents of the world and be nonpartisan. And guilt lives in a guilty mind, and I have none. I have equal disdain for everybody. Anyway, so but it's a matter of cultural appreciation, not cultural appropriation. For example, I was learning Urdu, which is a cross between Hindi and Punjabi,
Yeah.
and Punjabi and Pakistan, all right. And so I was learning, it's the difference between they say shukriya, but Urdu is a language of the poets here. And so they say, Aapka shukriya is very nice, it flows very nice, But that's cultural appreciation when you learn the language, and you don't make fun. Have fun, don't make fun. Cultural appreciation, not cultural appropriation, okay? So learn the language. I've played Chinese people. I in Norm of the North, I played a little rabbit who was the head of Bank of Hong Kong. And I played a whole bunch of Japanese characters in video games and stuff and cartoons, but you can't do it anymore. So, but it's always good to just keep in mind all of the accents. So think of the things that you want in your demo reel. And so old, young, varieties, your own stuff is great. Doing other people's voices, impersonation, it's a very hard gig, because you're up against people like one of my best friends, John Bailey Crompton, voice of his trailers. And he's a mimic like you would not believe. He does the best Christopher Walken I've ever heard. I can only do Christopher Walken if Christopher Walken was Ukrainian. So they have to put on Ukrainian accent, and then they could say, I don't know, this is the way you would talk if it was Ukrainian. That's all I can do.
You know exactly what you're doing with that one.
I can only do a Ukrainian version of Christopher Walken, but he does that for a living. So it's really hard to put those things on there, and make sure that if you're doing animation demo reels, it's just animation. Don't put singing stuff on there unless you're singing in a character voice, like they have singers for My Little Pony. Shannon Chan Kent does that, and she's very, very good at it. So if you're singing in a cartoon voice, I think that's okay. But singing demos are different than animation demos, which are different than commercial demos, which are different than narration demos.
Which are also different from radio demos, I'd assume.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah, because a newscaster type of voice is a very specific kind of voice. And they have a very specific way of speaking as well, to keep you interested, and to keep you just a little bit afraid. Just to let you know, we might all die, but we'll let you know at 6 o'clock.
Yes, let you know at 6:45.
Right after this.
Yes, coming soon after this. Speaking of, actually, that's a terrible
branding demos as well. Branding, which is like you're representing, like you're watching ABC or something like that, or I'm David Nunes. Look, this is BBC, and I'm David Nunes.
Yes,
he has the deepest voice. BBC.
BBC. Yeah.
I don't know how he does that. You do. That's very good.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of questions from Rockstar Raccoon. First one was more of a statement than anything. He should name all of the roles we'd know him for, or more that he remembers.
Oh my gosh. If you've ever seen my IMDb page, it's like
it's extensive.
pages and pages and pages. I mean, I played George of the Jungle, which was me, but a little dumber. Oh, you know, and yakety yak, I was yakety, and Dr. Frog and the League of Super Evil, and Glory Guy on League of Super Evil as well. And Johnny Test, I played Bling Bling Boy, who will destroy Pork Belly unless Susan Test goes on a date with him. And the General, yeah, it's a missile. I knew that.
Yeah.
And Speed McCool on that show. Hey, I like your monkey. And Albert the Butler, who talks like this. Yes, sir. So I did a bunch of characters on that. Bibble in the Barbie movies. So
have you done many of those?
100.
Have you done many of those creature kind of voices, like Bebel?
Yes, yeah, plenty. As a matter of fact, just this morning I had an interview with a young fella from London who's putting together a documentary on the history of King Kong. And I played King Kong in the latest King Kong animated film. So and I studied ape behavior for a long time and chimp behavior with Jane Goodall. And I cannot remember who, if somebody can remind me, who inspired Gorillas in the Mist. I can't remember her name. But anyway, I studied her work with gorillas and just how they emote in different modes that they're in and different, different emotions that they have.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it really hurt my throat. And then they'd get me to play these huge kaiju monsters and stuff like that. And I just, at the end of the day, I'm like, I taste blood.
My voice is not good.
So yeah, I'm always doing monkey noises or ape noises or dolphin noises or bird noises or, cats or dogs,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you usually come up with those by listening to certain animals and trying to replicate those sounds, right?
I do my due diligence.
Excellent. Looks like Aster is joining the room, so I'll admit him. He's not here yet. Give it a sec. Maybe. Who knows?
So yeah, I do get asked to do a lot of animal and creature sounds. A lot.
Okay. Another question that we got was, what do you think we've seen other than MLP that we wouldn't know?
That you wouldn't know?
Yeah, that you voiced in, I assume.
Well, I don't know what you've seen, so that seems like a bit of a loaded question.
Oh.
I don't know what you've seen.
Yeah.
Other than MLP, what have I done? Everything. I don't know. 8,000 episodes and dozens of video games. I was in Plants vs. Zombies. I made all of the animal sort of weird sounds in Plants vs. Zombies. It was me and Michael Dobson did all of the stuff on that. Human Crossing, Spider-Man, the Hulk Planet. Loads and loads of Death Note. I just can't even name them all. I don't know, because I don't really look at it like a continuance of a career. I look at it like I get to pay my rent. Yay!
Yay, rent payment.
Yeah. So I am definitely not a celebrityist. I don't know if that's a word, but it's what I believe it to be. I don't watch the stuff that I'm in ever. And I don't have cable, and so I'm not even tempted. I've gone onto YouTube when I've had to put together demo reels and stuff, but I don't believe in status or celebrityism. I don't. Everybody is the same. It's just the same people, just different pairs of pants. So I really don't know what else. I mean, George of the Jungle was very good, very popular. Yakety Yak was quite popular. Kate and Mim Mim was very popular. Mim Mim was basically Yakety Yak, but higher.
Yeah.
He just talks like this, Oh, Kate, I don't know. So it's but yeah, I don't really know. Oh, I was in the Ratchet and Clank movie.
Yeah.
I was Mr. Micron in that. I play in Ninjago. I play um, what's his name? Doctor. I can't remember his name. He's the guy that guides them on their stuff. So I'm in Ninjago, and I'm in the Deep. I play Nereus in the Deep cartoons. Um, that's still going, and I think Johnny Testa may or may not be coming back. I have no confirmation on that.
Mm-hmm.
But my landlord will be happy when he hears the good news if it does. So I really don't know what you've seen, so I can't tell you what I've
Yeah.
done that you wouldn't have seen. So
Yeah, I think he's kind of more referring to the roles that you'd be like, you hear it, but you don't register, oh, that's Lee Tockar, kind of thing.
oh, gee, I don't. Uh, well,
I, yeah.
I can think of
Higsby.
one.
Oh,
I played Higsby in Mega Man. That didn't really sound like me that much. I played Frieza in Dragon Ball Kai, the Ocean Group dub, and
oh, I wouldn't
yeah,
have guessed that one.
yeah.
Mhm.
Ah, Super Saiyan! Now I will destroy you!
Okay.
And I wish that I would have started him a little lower because he evolves into like 12 different times. He morphs into bigger, weirder creatures.
Yeah.
And so by the time he got to the big, and I started really big, so I had to keep escalating. And by the end of it, I'm like, I can't talk anymore. He's a pretty screamy dude, that Frieza. So
Yeah. And then Hawthorne Bunny has a really long preface, but also it leads up to a good question. So, I've heard VAs say that voice acting isn't about doing impressions, but it seems a lot of VAs aren't really good impressionists. Does that come naturally as one learns to control their voice?
well, the larynx is a muscle just like any other muscle in the human body,
Mm-hmm.
physiologically speaking. And once you learn how to master it, like it's like honing an instrument inside your throat, right? And so once you know how to master that, you can basically instinctually just hit those notes and that character. Um, I just learned she's a hard one to do, but I just created a character called her name is Stella Drankin. She's 148 years old, and every day she drinks a quart of whiskey and has some Marlboro cigarettes. And so, and she's lovely. I swear to God. And so, but I can immediately do her because I know my throat so well.
Yeah.
I know exactly where to place a character. So it's sort of like the 10,000 hour rule. Once you've had 10,000 hours at anything, you should master it. You should be able to have mastered it by that point.
Yeah. Would you say that it's fair to compare the voice to an instrument?
Absolutely. Oh yes, absolutely. And you got to make sure to take care of your instrument. So
Mm-hmm.
before I go in, I never drink dairy because it makes you phlegmy.
Yeah.
I never drink coffee because it dehydrates your throat. Um, there's things out there which are what the heck is it called now? I'll remember it. It's an opera singer's trick. It's a lubricant that you gargle. It's like Astroglide for your throat, if you will.
Yes.
Yes, and you put it into a little cup of warm water, and then you gargle it and spit it out. And I'll remember it. It's in my bathroom cabinet, but I don't need to, it's not that important. But you have to look after your instrument, and it is an instrument. So before you go in, you have to go. You know, you have to warm it up so that it's ready. You know, because if you begin a session and you aren't warmed up, then you can damage it yourself. And the other thing too is once you have, if you're doing a screamy bit, like doing something that sounds like this one day, and the next day you have to sound like this, you know, my gosh. What did you think we were going to go in there and rescue him with hugs and kisses? No, we need some guns, So you can't do that. So some people take chloroseptic or Cepacol and they'll spray the back of their throat. Very dangerous thing to do because it's a numbing agent and you don't know how much damage you're doing
If you can't
that
feel
day
it.
until the next day. You can't feel how much damage you're doing, and then the next day then everything you do just sounds like Tom Waits. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You need to be able to feel it when you're straining your voice too much so you can hold back maybe for
Yeah. There's a friend of mine, Ian Corlett, another brilliant voice actor, and he has this thing. He's like 40%, just do 40%. Just don't wreck your voice. 60 if it's really important,
yeah.
but 40% that's fine. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't overexert. Don't kill your instrument.
Yes, and
Anyway.
do you think it's important to kind of recognize the different parts of the instrument that is the voice?
I think it comes naturally. It's sort of like breathing.
Yeah.
I don't think that you have to really understand. Like, I haven't studied, like like Da Vinci style. I haven't looked at the inner machinations of the physiognomy of the throat to find out the sphincters that go inside. The sphincter isn't just in the bum, we have them
Yeah.
all over our body. And thankfully we do, because otherwise peristaltic motion would not happen. We would not get food into poo and and such. And that's all through peristalsis. So I have doctors and nurses in the family, and I tend to study that kind of stuff. So I'm an idiot. I'm an autodidact. So I study anything. If I don't know something, I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. Like in the pandemic, I've learned the international phonetic alphabet: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, Indigo, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, R is Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, Zulu. So,
Yeah.
yes, because I'm very bored, like the rest of us. Yes, I am. So I like to teach myself different things on all that stuff. So I like learning about the body and all the functions and everything. So I tend to go on about it a little bit. Sorry, I am a very bored person. So
we all have the things that we know an unnecessary amount about.
Yes.
Just to let the audience know, you can always ask questions if you have any questions for Lee, and we'll discuss it in the realm of voice acting or any of the expertise that he has built up over the years.
Or that people think I have anyway.
Yeah, and same goes for you, Aster. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask him.
Oh, okay. I was curious of one thing because I recognized that I looked it up and you did Cue Ball from Devil Kings. I was wondering how that was.
Oh, you know how long ago that was?
Very.
That was a very long time ago. I couldn't, unless you had a sample of it, I could not even tell you. I really look at most of my jobs like a job. I don't look at it because again, I'm not a celebrityist and I don't watch the cartoons that I'm in usually, unless I'm asked to put together a reel for like some of my hardware. They need a reel to see what you're doing, like for Leo nominations or Emmy stuff or anything like that. Then I have to put things together, but I don't ever watch the things that I'm in. And when I go in, I study the script 2 days prior. I hone the voice the day before, and then I go over it the morning of, and then I go in and I do it, and then I go home and I have a glass of red wine and I have forgotten all about it. It's like studying for an exam. Like it's like people in college or university, they cram for an exam, but like a week later they're like, I don't remember anything that I studied. I don't remember.
What was that test about again?
Yeah. Like all of the really cool stuff. Like 2 months later, you're like, I have no idea what I knew. I forgot all the stuff I knew.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I wish I could remember cue ball. I know I did a character named cue ball, but I don't know the voice
Mhm.
and I don't know much about the cartoon itself. Very rare is the occasion, that I will actually keep keep in mind. And like when I did Iron Man and I did Modoc, I wish they would have asked me to, but it was an LA thing. It's not a British Columbia thing. But there's the new Modoc. It looks very funny. I want to check it out. But I played Modoc in Iron Man, and I was like, because I have Modoc, because I was a comic book collector,
Mm-hmm.
and I still am. So I was like, designation Iron Man, and I just loved being part of the Iron Man franchise. I mean, wow, what a so little things like that I will definitely take note of. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mhm.
hey, that's what I did today to some of my friends. Yeah. So there you go. I wish I could be more specific for you there,
That's
Asters.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I think he was a cultist that had to do with having giant, large cannons, and he
Mm.
only believed in one thing, and that's getting everyone to believe in what he believed in by blowing them up.
Oh.
Hmm.
He was really extreme.
Oh, it sounds like typecasting. That sounds just like me.
So
Uh,
earlier you mentioned that it's not a good idea to drink certain things in
yeah.
relation to voice acting, but would you have any tips on how to reach those kind of voices, like a very phlegmy voice or a very dry voice? Do you have any
Uh,
methods of reaching those kind of effects without the ingestion of those drinks?
no, I know. I think if you're good at vocal manipulation, you could find them anywhere in your throat that you want. It's really bothering me. Can I go AFK for a second?
Sure.
I just 1 second. My bathroom is literally 10 steps away, and I have it in my cupboard.
Okay.
It's
Well,
a it's an opera singer's trick.
Hmm.
yes, everybody loves to have special little tricks to use during vocal manipulation. The opera stuff that he's talking about in particular, you gargle before a voice performance, and it kind of helps with the performance, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So he's back. Welcome
Um,
back, Lee.
so it's called glycerin,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a lubricant, and it saturates all of the folds in your larynx.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if your voice is really trashed from a really hard, heavy, screaming "fire in the hole" video game the day before, it will help to soften the blow. And with that, you can hit if you can hit any phlegmy voice, any dry voice. You can do anything because it just helps you to reach all of your notes.
And it's just something that you gargle and spit out, or is it able to
Yeah,
be ingested?
yeah. Well, I wouldn't ingest it, but I'm sure it can be. I mean, they wouldn't say you can gargle it if it wasn't, because the membrane in the throat and the mouth and sublingual is which means under the tongue, it's the thinnest in the body other than the rectal tissue. That's the thinnest membrane in the body, aside from what's in the mouth. So if that was bad for you, they wouldn't let you gargle it. So
Hmm.
you could probably ingest it, I guess,
Okay.
but I don't. You put it into like a little tiny teaspoon. Sorry, you put 2 tablespoons of that into like a shot glass of warm water and just gargle that.
Okay.
Salt water works too sometimes. Just gargling salt water if your throat
Yeah.
is sore.
And then it looks like Rockstar has a question mostly related to like how do you get back into character? How do you warm up for certain voices or in general?
Right. I can flip from voice to voice to voice with a trick that I learned. Every voice that I create or that I've memorized has one catchphrase,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone. And so I just memorized that catchphrase, and I say it, and then I'm right back in, 3, 2, 1, you're back in the room,
Yeah.
you know. So,
I kind of see myself doing a very similar thing, like with Looney. It's hello, or if I want to do an impression of Dr. Claw, it's I'm here. Like I do that sigh
yeah,
is my key to
I'll
getting
get you
into it.
next time, get you.
Yes, next
Oh,
time.
get you next time, get you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
played Mad Cat and Brain on that. So I got to work with Maurice LaMarche, and again doing animal sounds. I didn't care. They gave me a couple little extra characters on the side, but I was Brain at the dog and Mad Cat. So that was my I didn't care. I was in the same room as Maurice LaMarche. My God. So it was pretty special.
yeah. Like, are there any say you want to warm up for a gig? What are some of the warm ups that you go through? Because you mentioned briefly some of them, but I think it might benefit to go into more detail on them.
Well, first of all, I don't talk the day before, the night before, unless it's for a truck ad. And then I'll go to a loud place. We don't have them anymore because of COVID, but I used to go to my local where they had loud music, and I would engage in a conversation with one of my local friends, and we'd have to talk very loudly, and we talk for a very long time, and so it really horses your voice out. And so that's my practice for getting into that. And then it's like, build Ford tough, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, BC Lions, you'll rent the whole seat, but you'll only need half. And because you're on the edge of your seat, you see? I'll say,
See what you did there.
right, I know. Call 1-800-GOAL. So I was the voice of the LA Kings and the Vancouver Canucks at the same time one year. And then they found out that I was doing each other. And so I lost both gigs. But neither one of them. But I did get a skybox for the Vancouver Canucks. That was pretty cool. So I got a skybox. I was like, woohoo! Look at me, blue. Look how fancy. So, but yeah, I know the LA Kings didn't like that I was the voice of the LA Kings and the Vancouver Canucks. So they're like, pick a team. I'm like, no, I'm a voice actor. I'm a whore for myself. I'm a whore just in general. Anybody that pays me, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't see any issue with having the announcer do both, because it's just a voice. It's great to have.
Yeah. And but sometimes you don't really get what you want out of these, because I've had a lot of clients over the years, and sometimes you think that you're special, but you're really not. Like I was the voice of Kokanee beer. You guys probably don't know what that is, but Kokanee beer, glacier fresh taste straight from the Kootenays. It's the beer out here. Not one can of beer, not a case, not a thing, nothing they gave me. Nothing they gave me. Let me tell you what they gave me. I'll tell you what they gave me.
What
They
did
gave
they give
me
you?
nothing they gave me.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, just warming up your voice, going through your scales, gargling with even just salt water or glycerin. I mean, these are, and if your voice is really trashed and you can't hit the high notes, just purse your lips, go, I can't do it. For some reason, when you do that, you can hit a higher note, and then the muscle memory will remember that part of the throat, and you can hit it when you need it.
Well, that's a pretty good technique. Kind of never really heard about that one.
Yeah.
I actually did know about that one, but I don't know if I knew it by that term.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next question.
Generally speaking, would you say that there are a lot of gigs that utilize your high pitches more than your low pitches? Or is there really a general preference between those two, the higher and the lower pitch voices?
Well, my voice tends towards the higher, like the super high squeaky sort of stuff up here, the Frank Welker sort of thing. What do you want to do tonight, Brian? That kind of, I'm right in Frank Welker's range.
Yeah.
So anything up here, and that kind of stuff, that's where people hire me. Like I played Snugglebum, which was this little character here, and so I played him on League of Super Evil, and he was actually kind of a badass. But but he played this character on TV. On the TV, it was very meta, and he was a very sweet, lovable character who actually had a really badass streak to him. So they tend to hire me for comic characters and higher pitched characters.
Yeah.
Not usually low. There are people in town like Brian Drummond, Brian Dobson, Andrew Francis. These people, they have mastered the low voice. They're just their voice naturally rests there, and I'm so jealous. But you know, I'd have to scream for hours the night before to hit those notes.
Yeah, I find the lower ranges a little bit more difficult in general. Like there are deep voices that I'm like, I want to do that. That sounds so good. But even with as low as my voice is, I can't reach their level.
Yeah, it's tough. You're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah.
You can't exceed the constraints of your own larynx.
Yeah. So you got to kind of take advantage of what you have and utilize that to the best of your extent.
Absolutely. It's like a fish that grows to the size of its tank.
Yeah. Hawthorne Brony has a question. Are there any phonic sounds that you've been able to learn? For example, I can roll my R's.
Oh, rolling of the R's. Yes, exactly.
That one's fun.
Yeah. And one I'm trying to learn is the Ngazi. Ngazi. They have that click when they're talking, and when you say the word Ngazi, and the African Ngazi language is so beautiful and so intricate and so interesting. Like I'm just trying to figure out when you use that sound. It's pretty fascinating, but I'm fascinated by voice.
Yeah, and you think that kind of listening to different accents introduces you to some of those kinds of what is it, phonic sounds? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Like the Scottish roll, you know, that took a very long time for me to learn. But you don't want to over exaggerate it, because Scottish people, they don't roll like that. You know, it's not like
it's only in stereotypical Scottish
right.
Here, the
it's
R's.
usually just like a click. It clicks, the tongue clicks upper of the upper forward mouth part, just behind the teeth, the front teeth. So they talk like this, you know, and so when they roll your R's, they're very soft, very subtle, you know, because you want to sound natural, like you're a native, right? You know, you don't want to sound like, oi, laddie, that's not natural, and I don't speak like that, right? So
you try to more match the accent that is, rather than the stereotypical version.
That's right. So what you want to do is you want to learn the exaggerated accent and then pull back so that you sound like an actual human being. Yeah. You know, because human beings don't sound like, "Oh, laddie, you know, I'm a pirate and all that," you know.
Yeah.
And, you know. So no, you've got to pull it back and make it sound as tucked under as possible. And that is wherein lies the brilliance of learning a new language or a dialect. Is to find the intricacies and the subtleties, right, and the natural speaking patterns that they have, so that you sound like you could walk down Glasgow, like a street in Glasgow, and people will be like, "Well, where are you from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, which street? Are you talking about which street I'm from?" Or when I'm in Ireland, right, and they say, "Where are you from?" and I say, "I'm from Iona Road," because my buddy lives on Iona Road in Dublin. Yeah. But it took me a long time. I'm still learning the Irish accent. If you want a really good Irish accent, study London Irish. It's on Prime. London Irish is funny. It's like every day. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia style humor, but done in London with Irish people. It's really funny. So yeah, there's a lot of different things, and you know, every accent has its own little fun thing. Learning Welsh. Did I talk about this earlier? How Welsh sounds like Southeast Asian in the opening ceremonies?
I don't believe so. You might have, but
okay. Well,
refresher.
I'll do it again. So, if you guys don't mind, I will recite the first couple paragraphs of A Child's Christmas in Wales, which is how I learned Welsh. And Welsh is one of the hardest accents Welsh and Newfie, like from Newfoundland, Eastern Canada,
Yeah.
and South African. Those are the three dialects that I had the hardest time with, but I wanted to challenge myself. So, what are you eating? It looks
It's
delicious.
a maple bar.
It looks really good. A maple bar?
Yes.
It's very Canadian.
I mean, it's my favorite kind of donut. Just tastes really good.
Oh, what? That's because
Maple
it's
bars are
Canadian,
great.
eh?
Mm-hmm.
That's because it's the maple syrup there comes from Canada, eh?
Made with some really good maple syrup, eh?
Oh, totally, eh? Absolutely, yeah.
Don't ya know?
Don't you know there? That was actually, don't you know, is more in Fargo, North Dakota, though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, I
so
am an American, so.
there you go. So, okay, so it goes like this. This is a child's Christmas in Wales, and note the diphthongs and the ups and downs, okay? And then I'll do Southeast Asian right after that, and you'll see how why I'm so fascinated by dialects. Okay. One Christmas was so much like the other in those years around the sea town corner now, and out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep. Yet I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases rolled together towards the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon just bundling down the sky that was our street. So that is Welsh. And I'm going to do it I'm going to slip into Southeast Asian, and you'll see the diphthongs and everything is almost identical. One Christmas was so much like the other in those years around the sea town corner now, and out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. So that's Southeast Asian and Welsh mixed. And they are so similar, just like
Yeah, although I
Jamaican
did
and
kind of
Irish.
hear a difference in tempo, and
A little bit, yes. But Jamaican and Irish, there are some counties in Ireland that sound like the diphthongs and the pattern of Jamaican. And that's fascinating too. And Jamaican is hard too. It's like that. I really want to learn the Trinidad Tobago patois. It's so beautiful and sing-songy. But Jamaican is like mine. I think is a bit of a stereotype. It's like, and I be seen John, it's Turlan or do what you read, ya bomba klacha ya donya, you know, So everything like this. So it's mine is I think too exaggerated, but I've never really studied it, so I don't usually do accents that I don't know very well. Yeah.
no, it's good to study though.
Yeah, and so good question, but yeah, every accent has something to it, whether it's a diphthong or a pattern, like siete freaking, they took very clip clop this side. It depends on whether you're from Johannesburg or Cape Town, It's like my friend was in the army in Johannesburg, yeah, and he taught me how to do this voice, yeah. And he said that his commanding officer, whenever you screw up or your boots weren't polished properly, he'd say, if you don't shapen up, buddy, I'm going to stick my billy club through your ears and ride you like a bicycle. They're very harsh there.
Yeah. We got another question that's, what is your favorite part of voice acting? This one's from Nina LaFay.
Hello, Nina LaFay. My favorite part is when I get to meet little kids at conventions that are just figuring out that I do the voice, but they can't quite piece it together, and just watching their eyes when they're like, what? And so like those moments, I'm not sure if I can't remember what I said in the opening ceremonies, but one of my favorite moments in all of my career was the Fan Expo in Toronto for League of Super Evil, and a little girl and her two parents came up and she was just as cute as little tiny. She was like cute as a little button on a little bunny suit, and she looked so sad. And the parents said, "We've traveled 200 miles because she loves Bibble. Her
Mm-hmm.
name is Annie, and excuse me, and she hasn't smiled in 2 months, which I didn't want to question there, but I'm thinking, wow, what's with your parenting skills? Why? How come? Why? Okay, never mind. And so I knelt down and I looked at her and I said, "Oh, Annie Pooh, how you doing?" And I stood up and her face cracked open with this huge smile. And I immediately took my camera and I took a picture. I'm like, that is why I do this.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, very much so.
No, that is a very good question, and thank you for asking. And that is my response whenever somebody asks me what my favorite part of this is, and that is the reason I do this,
Yeah.
is to spread joy to kids.
Yeah.
I'm a children's entertainer.
Yeah. And then Rockstar Raccoon said, talk about the thing where you have to be as enthusiastic as possible in a role, even one you think is ridiculous, to pull it off.
Oh God. Well, that happens more often than not. Um, like sometimes I'll be playing characters that are outside of my own character.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Death Note, I was the first guy that I just had a couple small roles in it because I was in Kelowna. I was out of town for the casting, but the director liked me, and so he just gave me this little role, and I was the first person that got killed. Hiro Hajimoto or something like this. He was a motorcycle guy, and he was just had one scene, and he was super super rapey. He was really rapey, and I was like, that I don't think I can do this. Like sometimes you just get these characters that are just like so out of character, and I've had to play commercials. I've been in commercials that are for Bayer Crop Science, which is basically a chemical that they spray on crops. I don't agree with that because I come from farmers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't really agree with this, but I'm a whore, so I'll do it. So, and I don't, but I draw the line on rifle stuff. I don't do NRA stuff.
Hmm.
And anything that has to do with guns or violence, that like promoting guns or violence or anything like that. And your, second, third amendment. I don't know what your amendments
Second
are.
Amendment.
Second amendment. Yeah, the right to bear arms. I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't agree with it, and I let there be a division, and you can throw me across any pyre you want. I'll burn proudly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, every once in a while you'll get things that you just don't agree with politically,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes the writing is just bloody awful. It's really stupid, isn't it? I mean, you go in, you expect that the writer's doing his bloody job, isn't they? Right? But you go in and you read it, and you're like, this is freaking drivel, right? But he took a crap on the page, right? And I'm supposed to make this believable, really, me? But I'm supposed to bring this character to life? No, I don't freaking think so. Really, believe me, I don't want to say freaking.
Another question that we've gotten is, uh, Rockstar Raccoon had a question that he wanted to ask but didn't want it taken out of context, so I'll ask it in a different way.
Okay.
So there are higher register voices that you've done over the years. Yakety Yak could be described as kind of a kid in the way that his voice is portrayed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
And generally when kids are portrayed in cartoons, it's done by women, like Timmy Turner in Fairly Odd Parents is done by Tara Strong.
Yep.
And
Bart Simpson.
Bart Simpson is done by I don't know the voice
Cartwright.
actress, unfortunately.
Cartwright.
Okay, Cartwright. And so on. What is the difficulty in a male portraying a little boy in a cartoon? What makes that kind of disconnect where a woman can portray them better?
It always ends up sounding cartoony. Like when I'm doing Bling Bling Boy, he's naturally in this range, It's like, oh, Jonathan, you're just delightful sometimes. I just really enjoy how stupid you can be, but
Yeah.
I'm a 13-year-old there in that, I think. But realistically, most of the times, more often than not, at least it's been this way for the last 10 years, they will get ringers in. Ringers being like real kids who can actually act. And there's a lot of brilliant. I've taught over 600 students in my time of being a teacher, and I'm still teaching to this day, but not full time anymore. I just don't have time anymore. So I take on individual jobs of teaching people. They'll pay me for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and I give them the full thing, right from the audition process to creating a character to the developing the character within that cartoon universe, and the how to promote yourself. Those 4 things. And I will go through it as fast as I can. If they only have a day to do it, if they have 4 hours or 2 hours, I'll skim over it. If they say, can you just teach me everything in an hour? I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk really fast. So you get a pen and do not get on the paper. Oh, bless you. Are you are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm just with spring coming along, my allergies have been acting up a lot. So
maybe it was a maple bar.
no, the maple
Maybe
syrup's
you're
fine.
allergic to maple.
Nah, that wouldn't affect my nasal passages. Nah, it's mostly the pollen. I've gone outside
not
today.
as if it was small.
Looks like
Okay.
we're having a little bit
What is
of
this
internet issues on this. Your video quality went down pretty bad, and
It's probably 40 minutes.
no, actually, this
Mine?
account that I'm on doesn't have the time limit, but the quality of your video and your audio has kind of gone down, like something happened.
For me?
Yes.
For me?
Yeah, and I'm not sure
Do you
what.
want to restart the call?
If you would like, I guess we could do that.
No, it's up to you. Like, you sound normal to me, and
Okay.
I sound normal to me.
Yeah.
In my ears, I'm happening in real time. I'm a real boy.
You're a real boy?
I'm a real boy.
All right. It looks like it's coming back, so we should be good. Let's see. Is it more difficult to come up with little boy voices when you're doing with your vocal range, given?
Yeah, it is, because I don't. Once you get to a certain age, men can't do it. Then the women have to take over, because their vocal range usually it skews higher in the octaves than men. And men, as they grow and mature, they oscillate towards the deeper end of the notes. So that's why there's so many women doing boys' parts.
Is it because our range just doesn't quite cater to it?
Yeah, to pull it off like a natural kid, that's hard stuff. For a full-grown man, it's really hard, unless you just naturally sound like that. Sam Vincent and his brother Gabe Kuth, rest in peace. They could do that, and there's a couple guys that have a really high vocal octave range, so they can pull it off. I can do it sometimes, but mine always sounds like not like a real boy. Mine sounds like a bit of a cartoon. So. Yeah,
that makes sense. Let's see. Are there any more questions from the audience? I'm keeping an eye on the chat so we can
ask me anything.
Yes, we've got 3 viewers currently. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask Lee, I would be more than happy to read them to him.
Yes, you being the world's greatest moderator.
Oh, greatest.
They call him the moderator.
Greatest, I wouldn't say that, but I am a friend. Ask him if he's ever actively watched a cartoon he was voice acting in. Like, generally you don't, but is there a cartoon that you ended up wanting to watch or thinking was worth watching? Despite you having a role in it?
I have watched some George of the Jungles because the writing was so good. And I did watch some of Nerdcore's Endangered Species. I played Gull, the seagull, and that was a super funny character. And I have watched some Slug Terra when I played Pronto the Magnificent, the little tiny mole man. So I've watched those, but in general, no, not really. I think when I first started my career, I think I watched a few of them because it was so fascinating. I'm like, oh my God, look, I'm on the TV.
Ah, that's me, guys!
I'm on the TV. Look at Mom, I'm on the TV. You know. So, but ever since then, I'm like, it's just a job.
Yeah, kind of gone less and less. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really have anything. Yeah.
Now you got me doing that. Yeah.
Yes, do it. I encourage it. It's become such a tick that I do that I've lost sight that I do it, and you're just identifying it again and again. It's like
people that say a lot. I can't stand it, and I know people do it, and I know they don't know it that they're doing it. But people that say like a lot, because, and I'm like, and I can't help it. Then my brain, my OCD kicks in, and I'm like counting. That's 20, 21, 20, 25 ums, 32 ums. Oh my God, this person is just one great big long Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever accidentally choked on saliva during a recording? Hawthorne asks this one.
Hawthorne, have you been reading my mail? Yes, I have. When I was doing Glory Guy, and so he's way back in the back of the throat, and so sometimes I get caught. So I have to be very careful as to make sure I don't have any sputum in my throat. I say sputum in Stewie's voice.
Sputum.
Yes,
sputum. Give me some sputum.
Yes, sputum. Lewis. Mum.
Money.
Sputum.
Yes. It just runs away.
Super funny.
Yeah.
I still haven't been okay. There's one thing I can't do, there's two things I can't do as a voice actor, no matter how hard I've tried. I can't do the creepy old man from Family Guy. Well, hi there.
Oh, hi there, Chris. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. I could do the voice.
Ah.
I got pops.
Is this the whistle?
But I can't do the whistling thing, and I can't do Donald Duck. I've never been.
I can't either. Like, it's an air pocket in the cheek. That's as far as I can get.
I can't. I just can't wrap my head around that. It's for the same reason that I don't know how to speak Mandarin. I can speak a little bit of Cantonese, but I can't speak Mandarin because I don't know what they're doing in their mouth. Like, there's something going on in there, you know. And like Cantonese, it sounds, and people are like, oh, Cantonese is way harder than Mandarin. I'm like, I don't know, no. Cantonese, it's like very clipped. It's like, good, we say good luck to someone. It's chok ni ho one. But in Mandarin, it's ni ha jun. And it's all like, what the hell are you doing with your tongue in there? What is going on in there? It's really mental.
Is there any like specific trick that has haunted you for many years that you wish you could do, but you finally were able to like, that's how you do it. That's the thing.
Well, I wanted to learn Winnie the Pooh. I think I did tell you this story. Winnie the Pooh. and I've always wanted to learn how to do them. I'm still not very good at them, but I was at AnthroCon, which is the world's biggest furry convention. It's a
You
very
did mention
legit.
this one.
Yeah. I don't know if the other people have heard it. Should I say it again?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I was there with Jim Cummings on a panel with a huge audience, and we were the guests of honor at AnthroCon, and I think it was in Philadelphia. I can't remember where it is. Anyway, and I knew that he was going to ask me if I did Winnie the Pooh, and I've never been able to do Winnie the Pooh. So a week before, I studied one line, and so but I also found out later that Jim Cummings hates when people try to impersonate him doing Winnie the Pooh. He hates it.
Yeah.
So I was on the panel with him, and he said, "So Lee, do you do me? Do you ever do me? Do you do Winnie? Do you do any of the voices I do?" And I said, "Oh," and I knew it was a setup. I knew he would hate me after it. So I just said, "Well, Jim, to be honest, I'm a little starstruck. I don't get starstruck, but I am sitting next to Winnie the Pooh, and I do not want to offend you." But I did rehearse one line I wrote. And he goes, "Well, let's hear it then." And I said, "No, I got to find the place in the voice." Oh, hang on there. Oh, yes, here we are. I said, "Oh, Christopher Robin, don't you know, in the 100-acre woods, no one can hear you scream." And everybody died. Everybody died. Even he laughed. But later on, I could see him out of the corner of my eye, and he's like,
"You terrible.
You terrible bastard, you." Yeah. So it took him a day. He took a day off from me. We were hanging out pretty solid until then, and then after that, the next day, he was like nowhere to be found.
That was the day.
The final ceremony, he's like, "You're really funny, Lee. Thank you." And I'm like, "I hope I didn't offend you. I know you don't like that. You shouldn't have asked me to do that. I think you were setting me up for a dive, buddy."
That's actually what somebody, Nina LaFace, said in the chat. It was a trap.
It was. Nina, you're totally right. It was a total mind trap he was putting me in. I'm good. Hey, Lee, why don't you do something that I'm going to hate? Try that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
We've been doing so well this entire weekend. Make me hate you, please.
One of my childhood voice heroes is trying to mind trap me. Great. Well, at least I made the audience laugh anyway.
That's the important thing. They'll never hear you scream.
Nobody can hear you scream.
It's
not the best. I haven't practiced it that much because I think Jim scarred me.
Yeah.
I was like, never, don't ever do that again.
Yeah. Is there any voice that you learned how to do and you were just like, never again, never again?
That I learned how to do.
I'd imagine that'd be a
there was a voice. I can't remember who it was, but he was very much like this in the back of the throat and all like this, and he was very loud all the time. Mm-hmm. And after a while, it's just like, oh my god. And the next day, I'd be like, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I can't remember what character it was though. But he was very screamy, and it was very deep and gravelly.
Yeah,
he was in a bad mood all the time.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a voice that I heard in a carnival that comes to town every year, where someone just constantly has that really gravelly, really, "Hello, come play my game. It's gonna be great." And I heard that voice, and I tried doing it. And I'm like, how do you do that all day for an entire weekend? Yeah, well, I got cast for a 13-episode series. And so that stuck with me, and I was just a mess. I was just a bloody vocal mess. You have a very good range, by the way. I know. I've tried. Yeah, you've got a good range. But you're one of the I've been interviewed by people who you could tell want to be voice actors. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I do a voice, they'll do it immediately afterwards, and then they'll and they're trying to do it better than me.
And I'm like, okay, this is a game to you. Why don't you just ask if ask me for advice or something? But you never have mentioned that you want to be a voice actor, which I appreciate. But you could be a very good voice actor, probably because you don't want to be, or maybe you don't talk about it.
Yeah, I don't talk about it much. I could be, but I just haven't pursued it very much.
Well, you could.
So.
You should. You've got a good range.
Thank you.
You know, you could do everything from the high stuff to the low gravelly things down here.
Yes.
And so that yeah, it's very good. I'm very impressed, actually.
Oh, I'm glad.
It takes a lot to impress me.
It does.
Yes, it does. I have very high standards. That's why I have 2 ex-wives.
Oh, 2. Third one's the charm.
And 4 ex-fiancés.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Actually, that kind of...
I've got my art to keep me warm.
Yes, you've
I
got
don't need women. I don't care.
Well, you seem to have a lot of fun with the art. There was a time where I was in elementary school, and I was in the office for some reason. I think I wasn't feeling well or something like that, and the person at the table was about to shout something to someone else, and they inhaled before they were speaking, and they kind of choked on themselves. And they said, yeah. "Oh, that's why we don't try to inhale while speaking." And I'm like, "Hello." And at that moment, I found a voice that I could do that was fun to do.
What was it?
It was, "Hello, how are you? This kind of quality." And it's because I'm purely inhaling. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's actually a neat trick.
Yeah, it definitely.
Voice actors have to collect all these little tricks and put them in their bag of tricks.
Yeah.
and once you have enough of them, then you're ready for battle, right?
Yeah.
That's a really cool one. I don't even have that one.
Yeah. It's very fun. Like, it dries out your throat. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you get it, you can do it anytime. Hello. Yeah. And you get that, like, nice gravel quality.
I have never heard anybody do that before. That's really cool.
Yeah. I recently actually saw it trending on TikTok. There was somebody who really liked doing that voice. But the reason I bring that up is it was a moment of me discovering a voice through something that was so out of the ordinary. Have you ever experienced that kind of thing with your voice acting?
Yeah, I mean, that's where Stella Drankin came from, because she's way up here, and I never did nothing like that before. Mm-hmm. You have to get so high up and so gravelly and so in the back of your nose that it almost tickles your throat, and you want to cough all the time.
Yes.
And then wrapping a southern accent around that. I swear to God, it reminds me of my ex-husband. Yeah. And I can just say she just walks out of my mouth, and I can say anything in her voice. But when I just found this area, I started with a noise, and then Stella Drankin just was born. She was just born into the world. So, and that was the funnest new character that I've developed, with a part of the voice that I had not ever used before. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps to experiment and figure new things out.
For sure.
And that's the big key with voice acting is knowing how this instrument works and what tricks you can do to make new voices.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see. I think there's another question. Do you remember doing the main characters in a game called Impossible Creatures? It was an RTS. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes, I do. But that, again, was a long time ago. I think we did that through Studio X Labs, if I'm not mistaken, downtown Vancouver, under Paul Ruskay. Mm-hmm. I think he was the owner of the studio, but that's stepping into the Wayback Machine. But yeah, that was one of the first things like that I'd ever done.
Okay, and a follow-up question was, do you remember what are the characters that you kind of remember best in general from that one?
Oh
Or
God, I don't
actually,
remember
best in
any.
general.
I don't remember any of them.
Oh,
I don't. I mean, like again, unless I saw it, I could remember it. As soon as I saw it, I could drop right into that character again.
yeah.
But you know, I really do look at voice acting. I don't know what kind of voice actors are out there or what their mentality is, but I don't remember that stuff. People ask me like, "Do you remember episode this and this where you did this and you said
Yeah,
that? You remember
episode
that?
5 with
What were
the
you,
space
what were you thinking?
monster.
Yeah, what were you thinking when you said this word and that word and how come? What's your history on that?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, beep, beep, beep. I'm like, just blank. And I'm like, I don't remember. It's a job to me, you
Yeah.
know. I know it's really not fan service, but and I'm sorry that I don't have more of a response to most of those questions, but it's because I don't take the celebrity fame part very seriously. I never
Mhm.
have. I mean, my family, they keep me pretty humble. So I'm not really allowed. I'm not allowed to
Yeah.
be to think I'm famous. It's just not it's not bred into me genetically.
Uh,
But if I sound too highfalutin for them, boy, do I hear about it. Holy cow.
yeah. I often find myself kind of slipping into certain accents or certain voices. As you've noted multiple times, I do the
Yes.
yes, do it kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there any voices that you've done over the years that you kind of slip into in the same, a similar kind of way?
Well, I really like doing this voice, eh? So I like doing the Cockney.
Yeah, Cockney is a good one.
I do this all the time, and I find myself slipping into it like when I'm nervous or something like that, right? And so then I've got this character, this alter ego named Nigel, and Nigel sort of just takes over, doesn't he? And
Mm-hmm.
sort of he takes over where I'm just like someone asks me a question or they're like put me in a situation and I want to like deflect or like make the scary go away, and then I'm like, Nigel, get the hell out here right now, get out here. And
Yeah.
he's like, what's up, mate? Oh, what's going on? Who's speaking? Bring it on, you know, you know. But Nigel takes over sometimes, and that's the thing I must say that I do have a bit of yeah. But I think a lot of the really good voice actors, I think they're all a little bit off. You know, that you have to be a little bit off to be able to slip from one character into another. Like I can go from Scottish like this, no problem, and then all of a sudden I'm not right in Eastern London, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you just you get into the habitants, and you can be in Paris, no problem. Pas de problème, mon ami. Hein, oui, hein. J'y comprends la plus que je parle, hein, oui, hein. And so I can slip in back in first like this. And but I like Nigel is the one that protects me. And so when people get mean to me, I'll let my Nigel out, and you know they can deal with him because he's a bit of a knuckle.
Yeah. And a bit of a correction for an earlier question. They weren't asking. They didn't intend to ask mainly just impossible creatures. Like what characters out of all the characters that you've played do you remember doing? Because they're gonna form some questions based on that answer. Um,
I
just in
remember
general.
I Pronto the Magnificent, Mim Mim from Kate and Mim Mim, Yakety Yak, George of the Jungle. I mean the big ones, the big Western, and this whole convention is about Western animation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the stuff that I've done that way, you know, like it's been a long time, but I remember in Tex Avery, which again is a classic Western animation.
Mm-hmm.
I played Genghis, and he was a lion, and but he was played Sean Connery style. So he was Sean Connery, you know, but he's always yelling and he's very stupid and brash, you know. So I remember little snippets of everything, and I filed them away. And I keep them in my files, right? I keep every voice in my files from my auditions,
Mm-hmm.
everything for 25 years, which is why I want to create this app. So if anybody knows an app developer,
Yes, app developers, get on it.
let me know. Let me know. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. I used to flippantly say, oh, well, the characters I remember the most are the ones that paid me. So,
Yeah.
but now I have a reverence for it because I realize how rarefied it is to be an actor that's actually working steadily, especially during the pandemic right now. Like productions have slowed down by a quarter, by
Yeah.
three quarters. Sorry, there's only a quarter of the amount that you're working as much. So
Yeah.
it's I have three cartoons, well, two that's going and one that's coming, and that is so rare, and so I do not take that for granted at all, at
Hmm.
all. No.
Okay. And another question that we got was, have there been any technological innovations that have made your life easier as a voice actor?
Oh,
Because I mean,
yeah,
you have been doing this a while, so there's
I
bound to be a
have,
lot
yeah.
of
Well,
changes in the technology.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I well, it used to cost the minimum buy-in to start your own home studio was $10,000, right?
Yeah.
Now you can basically do it like with the computer that I'm on right now. I take into my back studio, which is all full of clothing racks and foam and pyramid foam on the walls and the
And to
ceiling.
be clear, the one you're using right now is a laptop, right?
It's just the laptop
Yeah.
mic, yeah.
Okay.
but but back there I have an NT2000, so my sound chain to create a studio sound is so cheap. Like an NT2000's $1,500. Okay, so that's pretty cheap. The Duet that I use, the Duet is an interface that takes an XLR microphone in and takes FireWire out into USB that plugs into the side of my computer, and
Hmm.
then it's just Logic or GarageBand,
Yeah.
and that's it. And so I'm just loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's super cheap. Like I that's for less than $3,000. So it's not, so $7,000 has been knocked off the price tag of getting, a sound booth. Like I had a sound booth that I had flown in from Tallahassee. It's called a whisper room, and they sold it. You can find them online. You can get them 4x4. You can get them in a triangle to fit in the corner, or you can get them in a 6x8, or you can get them in an 8x8 or a 10x10 and fill up a whole GD room.
Yeah.
But so I had this one, and it was 4 feet by 6 feet, and that was beautiful. And it cost me a whole schwack load of money, boots
Mm.
load. And I put it together, and then I was like, this is crazy. It's taking up all of my living room. So I sold it to Andrew Francis,
Mm.
and but now I don't need it. Like there's no need for it.
Yeah, we have the technology to accommodate voice acting a lot easier in the
Yeah.
home.
There is also something called a chaotica, and it's a foam ball
Hmm.
that fits over top of your microphone, and it's got a removable pop guard,
Yeah.
and you put that on, and it has so much noise cancellation from the room, so you don't hear the
Yeah.
sound bouncing off the walls, and which is something you can't really correct even through ISDN or or Source Connect.
Hmm.
Source Connect is a great new thing. Zoom is a great new thing, because Zoom that we're all on right now.
Hmm.
I know people that have done Zoom recordings, and then the engineer take over your computer through Share, and then you can actually have them manipulate the sound of your room on their end to match the rest of the cast.
Mm.
So I mean, it's an amazing. We're clever little monkeys. We are.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Always innovating, always figuring out new ways
Always
to do
innovating.
things.
Yeah.
Another question we got was from Aster. Apparently, he woke up. Any reading material that you'd recommend for aspiring voice actors?
I really wouldn't know. I'm sure it's a valid question, but I've never read anything on it. I've just lived it. So I would never go out of my way to read anything. I don't know. I think that's more of a forum question. Go to a forum and ask, because I wouldn't know.
Mm.
I would find out who your favorite voice actor is and see if they've written a book. that's what my recommendation would be.
Yeah.
So that's my see a problem, fix a problem brain. That you
Yeah.
know. But I apologize, Aster. I am, alas and alack. I'm lacking that fact.
That expertise.
You
Yeah. And with that, I think we can probably end this panel a little bit early.
excellent.
Yeah.
I have to pee.
Alrighty. Well, I hope you guys have all enjoyed Lee Tokar's masterclass here at LooneyCon. I believe this is actually the last panel that we have scheduled. So for anyone who showed up over the weekend and enjoyed what we had to offer, thank you, and we hope to see you guys next year. We haven't quite planned the day yet, but we do plan on having Lee Tokar with us once again.
Yes. And I want to say thank you to all the people that are here watching, or anybody that this is streaming to, or if this is going to be streaming it onto YouTube or anything. If you're seeing this at a later date, thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting LooneyCon. I think it's a great new fledgling. Even though this is their fourth, they did 3 last year, and this is the 4th. You're only doing 1 this year. Is that correct?
Yes, only 1 this year, and then 1 for the
This is
next few
basically
years.
The 4th, but the first annual.
Yes, first annual LooneyCon.
Yes. So welcome to thank you for participating in the first annual, and the 4th, but the first annual LooneyCon. And thank you for having me, Eric and Aster, and all the rest of the people that have helped put this thing together. And for all the people watching, thank you. It's been my pleasure to help get you guys hopefully off the ground and help promote you.
Yes, and it's been a super fun weekend. It's been great talking with you, learning new things.